Good morning. Well, I was going to talk a little bit about the response and the generous response that you and so many others have made to the clothing closet, the food pantry, the feeding program. The numbers here at the Cathedral keep growing. Last Sunday, we were at 300 plus. And then, of course, the line for clothes on Monday. The crisis simply continues, and we're rising to the steady flow of people who are hungry and needing clothing and support. In addition to saying thank you for your contributions, let me also ask you for your prayers for these folk and for the city of New York and beyond, as we face these days that are so unclear to all of us. And while the path ahead is not clear, the need is clear and present and visible. So thank you, and keep on keeping on. And thank you for your contributions. Now, let me talk a little bit about St. Francis Day. This is Lila, who says, what? Today is Lila's birthday. She's a year old today. And she's my little dog, and my grandchildren love her and play with her, and we all love her. And this Sunday, we're celebrating St. Francis Day. This is a long-standing tradition, as you know. We're celebrating it in a very different way this year, but in a way I think you'll find most interesting and stimulating. If you go to the Cathedral website, you'll see the full range of activities. The celebration will continue from 10 o'clock until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It starts with a replay of the BBC special that they did on the cathedral and its celebration of St. Francis. You'll get a chance to see Patty Welch directing what goes on behind the scenes of the St. Patrick's Day, where am I? St. Francis Day celebration. And then there'll be a service at 11 for, it'll look like our regular Sunday service. The bishop is going to preach, and we will do that. And afterwards, there will be, wait a minute, I see. Then in the afternoon, there will be a blessing, continual blessing of animals on the website. So come and take part in some or all of it. We're giving special thanks this St. Francis Day for the return of Jim the Peacock, who came back last week. We went and picked him up in my truck, and I kept saying, this is not in my job description as dean, but anyway, you do what you have to do. We brought Jim home after a 3-month stay at the Avian Center for Exotic Birds, and he is limping a little bit still, but he's up and walking and back where he belongs and feels like he belongs. As part of our service, the offering for the service, which you would make over the web, will be going, we're going to make a donation to the Center for Avian and Exotic Bird Medicine. They've done such a great job and have cared so gently and carefully for Jim that we want to thank them in this way. So that's sort of where we are. The needs continue, and in the midst of the needs, the celebration, there's room for celebration as well. As part of our celebration today, we're going to be talking with James Patterson, whom I know that most of you know. Jim is the director of maintenance here at the Cathedral, and has, well, just wait until you hear the conversation. Where's Jim? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm here.
You're here.
I can see myself.
There
I
you
don't know
are.
where. There you are.
There you are. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you.
This is Jim, whose offices are in the basement of the town building in the maintenance department. Jim, let's tell me a little bit about how you came to the cathedral and when you came to the cathedral and how long you've been here.
Well, I've been trying to figure that out myself. I have some projects I have dated back to 1995 when I first got here. For a couple of years in between that I didn't quite get going, but it has been that long, and you know, it's been quite an adventure. You know, there's been a lot of ups and downs with this particular place. All positive. There's been a lot of times when we haven't been able to do things properly, but things have been a little lean. But you know, we've gone up and back and forth, and we've learned that, you know, when we do anything, we need to do it right. And you know, that's what we try and do now is you know, just take a step back and figure out, okay, what can we do, what should we do, and how do we preserve the building and the close.
Well, let's break this down, because as you learn quickly, the cathedral is so vast that you can't talk about it as a whole almost. You have to talk about it in parts. So talk about maintenance. What do you have to tell me about maintenance at the cathedral?
Well, it's difficult with maintenance, as you know. We do have some office buildings on site, but most of our work is at the cathedral, and a lot of it, you know, there is some cleaning that we have to do, of course, all the time. And trying to maintain areas that are 100 years old is very tough. And I say that because there's a lot of things that are buried behind the walls, but they're not sheetrock walls, they're stone walls. And, you know, you have to figure out, okay, well, can I get to it? You know, should I get to it? What do we do? What can we do? There's a lot of things that we have to work around in order to do that. But we are, you know, the maintenance team that we have here is diverse, and it's fantastic. And, you know, they're willing to roll up their sleeves and jump in wherever they have to. There are some times when we need to bring in some outside contractors, and that turns into more of a capital. But our maintenance program, you know, we have to try and keep what we have and keep it in pristine shape. We like to show off. We like to say okay, welcome to our house. You know, this is what we have, you know, and this is what we can maintain. So we love that aspect of it. You know, sometimes part of our maintenance team has to, you know, set up for events and take down for events. And you know, that's always interesting depending on the event. If there's an excitement that goes around that, it's absolutely fascinating, you know, to try and manage the entire team and trying to manage the events and see what's coming up. It's fascinating. And then, of course, all these events have been going on for many years. So there's an expectation that, you know, you have to stand up to. And
that's right.
Like, okay, well, this is the way they did it. We better do it at least as good.
I've seen the maintenance crew in the cathedral after a concert that's over at 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And I say, then they start taking down to set it up to get ready for Sunday service. And then when you ask, well, when will you finish? They'll say about 3 or 4 a.m. I mean, so it's the unseen pieces.
Right.
And then the curveballs that come with the pandemic and the feeding program, you had to figure out how to g-haul things to serve 1,000 sandwiches a day and provide for cleaning and so on and so on. It's not just a steady stream of routine matters.
It's not a steady stream. There's been a few things that we've had to do for COVID, as you've just mentioned, you know, like, for example, partitions, you know, plastic partitions, or, you know, and then extra cleaning, as we just discussed, you know, but it is a battle because everybody's expectations are completely different of what they expect to see when they walk in. And, you know, so you have to try and figure out, okay, what do they want? What do they see? You know, we have to have all these signages around. It is a tremendous undertaking to try and satisfy everybody. But, you know, we are doing it.
You're doing it and doing a good job of it. I want to turn to capital projects, which are always interesting here, to say the least. What you think begins as a small project turns into this huge event. But I'm going to let you talk about some of that.
Okay.
So tell us about the major capital projects that we're doing right now and some that we're facing. And I know you've got some photos you're going to show us.
That's correct. I'll start with the dome, which is our largest project going on. And Tyler, if you can pull up a couple of those photos that I just put out there. This dome, you can see there's a photo I took yesterday on the right-hand side. That's somewhat up to date. The different parts of that dome that are in different stages. But what we've done is we basically stripped the dome away from its original structure, taken everything off of it, and have started to rebuild it. Over the course of time, there's been multiple roofs put on top of it, and although it doesn't look so bad right now, based on that photo, it's intimidating to be up there as far as the slope of it, and when you put something up there and whether you can walk on it or not, and stay safely up there. There's been different safety measures put up since then, but if you notice, the photo on the right is our new roof that we're going to have, and on the bottom right hand side you can see where we put up some samples of some copper that's going to be cladding the entire dome. So it's going to have a brand new appearance. It's going to look fantastic, but it is an overwhelming project as far as the details that have to go into it and the timing and you can see a little bit of the scaffold. That scaffold comes from the ground up and gets into the little corners. The photo on the left was an old photo I dug up. That's from the late 60s, 70s, and that's on the interior of that dome. And that's a company, Nicholson & Galloway, who coincidentally is actually doing the roof on the outside, putting up the netting and doing some repairs on the interior. Hopefully we'll get up there shortly and take a look at that netting and do the same thing that they're doing then, and we'll have to do it again. So these projects, they come around, every so many years. What we're trying to do by doing the copper on the exterior is hoping that we don't have to get to it for another 75 years plus. So that's our dome project that we have going. We have another project, the North Tower, that has been kind of, I don't know, it's kind of the forgotten child in the building. The South Tower had so much press over the years. There was a scaffold around it. It was put up in the 70s and stone project to bring it up even higher, and that was put up 50 feet. And it was an old scaffold. And that program, although it had an apprenticeship program to teach people stone carving, it, through the course of time had dropped off and that scaffold sat there. So part of our project was to rebuild that tower, take that scaffold down, put in new windows, new roofs, fix some outside things, and that got done because of the condition of the scaffolding had to get done. But the North Tower is just as bad. I think that was finished approximately 1938 in the up to the height that it's at now, and that roof level is shot, and the windows are broken over there, and we need to do that. And as you were talking about before, these projects just start to grow, and of course our biggest issue is access, getting scaffolding in through these spaces and getting manpower up to it and making sure everybody's safe, and all the protocols are involved with that. It's quite intimidating, and actually quite pricey as well. There are a few other major projects I'd like to mention too, just briefly. One is an Undercroft safety program, and that is a sprinkler system throughout the entire basement of the church. The sprinkler system and a fire alarm system. But that's going to take years to get done and accomplished. And we are in the beginning stages of designing that now, but it is, as you can imagine, daunting to try and figure out all these hidden spaces and try and figure out what we need to do to make sure everything is properly covered. There's another rather large wall on Morningside Drive. It's longer than it is high, and that needs to be rebuilt. It was kind of, I don't want to say thrown together, but over the years it's been changed and it's been stacked up. And now we need to figure out, okay, how do we rebuild it, in an economical way that's not going to break the bank. There are some smaller projects that we are working on, and with those smaller projects, we have there's a couple of things that come to mind. One is an outdoor columbarium that the dean has suggested, and I think it's a great idea. It has been brought forth because of the COVID, conditions, and we felt that an outdoor columbarium could be an alternate to our indoor columbarium, and it might be, if there are people that would love to return to nature, and there is a spot that we're designating on the south, south side of the pulpit green, and what we're hoping to do is return the people back to the earth and create a nice memorial, a nice plaque over there. And then there's another one that that I'm excited about, and it's a little embarrassing because I'm excited about polishing floors inside the cathedral. There's a couple of chapels that have some really nice floors that have through the years not been maintained as well as they could have been or should have been. And I'd love to be able to get some the proper machines and the pads in here and hone them down and create a beautiful atmosphere, beautiful chapels that these spaces so deserve. Tyler, there's another set of photos, if you can pull them up. I'd appreciate it. This is St. James Chapel, and there's a before and after photo. The after I just took yesterday, the day before, but this before. This is a picture of the same wall in St. James Chapel. We have since done repairs to the roof. We've done some cleaning on the exterior wall after that. And what it goes to show you is that when we're able to do things right, we can return this place to the beauty that it was intended to be. And this was actually with Claudia's help driving this. Claudia's on the line here with us, and she knows this place inside now. And this is exactly what it is that we need to do. There's many spots where, if you notice the photo on the left, there's internal leader lines that we've had to replace and push to the outside. But this occurs throughout the cathedral, where we have, unfortunately, we don't see the damage until it happens. But then at least we have the knowledge now to realize, okay, they had a pretty good idea of how to build this cathedral, and the concept was great. We either need to duplicate it or just modify it slightly and then put back what they had in place, and we'll be in good shape. So those are a couple of our smaller projects. I just wanted to emphasize, again, what we can do when we get the opportunity to do things right, that we can return it to its natural state. I think it's fascinating. There's always a challenge. There's many different details in this cathedral. There are floors that I just mentioned that could be polished, or floors that shouldn't be polished because of the type of floors they are. So it's just, we have to pick and choose and say, okay, how do we make this space nice? And that's what we intend to do. We want to make sure that when we open the doors, that we're saying not only welcome, but welcome. We're happy that you're here, and we want to show off. We want to show off what we have. So that's what our capital projects are all about.
Wow. And what I've learned is, whenever you mention any project at the cathedral, you don't start with zero. You start with about $100,000, and then we can start talking about how to get this, how we can get this done. And of course, there are things we haven't mentioned, and that is the whole north transept, which was ruined by the fire 20-some years ago. That awaits restoration and redesignation for use, and how we might use that to enhance the life and work of the cathedral. And of course, restoring the Penn Station lamps to the front of the cathedral as a memorial and a thanksgiving for the first responders. That's going to take some time and some significant money. But one of the joys of the cathedral is that you'd have to deal with things to the present, but you also get to look toward the future and say, this is where we're heading, and for future generations to enjoy and celebrate. as we work for this on this cathedral and with this cathedral and its building and grounds, which is a significant, important resource and treasure of the whole city of New York. So it's in a way we hold this place in trust for the city of New York and the people of the world. So we try. But Jim, these are all high and mighty projects. You also have to deal with people who live here on the close calling up and saying, my dishwasher's not working.
Sometimes those are the easy things, you know, dealing with our colleagues, our neighbor, you know, it's fantastic to deal with the people that live here, of course. But yes, there are some things that pop up, you know, as usual, with any complex there would be. But sometimes, as you're pointing out, it can be very minor. Sometimes it could be serious. And if it happens to be that person that's living in the apartment, it could be, you know, extremely serious. We have gone through a large program over the years to change our boilers. And that has helped tremendously to try and keep everybody warm. You know, we're working towards changing windows and things along those lines going towards the future. But that's the thing is, if we can keep people comfortable and know that there's somebody there that's overlooking it and cares for them, that's really what it's all about.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well, the window project Jim referred to is in what we call Diocesan House, which is a huge project. There are over 300 windows, Jim? Is that
There's closer to 400, yeah.
Closer to 4. And the windows and the frames and the sashes haven't been changed since the building was constructed in the early part of the 20th century. So there's always something to do. Always something to fix, always something to lift up, brighten up, shine up, and somebody's sink is overflowing. So Jim remains a busy guy, and let me tell you how deeply thankful I am for Jim. We all are, and for his staff. These guys and women work so hard on our behalf, largely unseen. But present, just like the Holy Spirit, unseen but present, and they make life beautiful and clean and fresh for us every day. So a deep, deep thank you, Jim, to you and your staff.
Oh, thank you, and I'll pass that along immediately, because as you're pointing out, sometimes they just need a little bit of a pat on the back. You know,
Yeah.
like you say, they're behind the scenes, and they're obviously more important than I am. You know, I'm just the spokesperson for them. So
I understand. And I thank you especially for your leadership.
You're welcome.
We have a couple of questions from some of the people joining us today. And I'll just start with, someone had asked about the clothing closet, and we are indeed accepting donations. And if you want to contact me, I'll put you in touch with Vanessa Greco, who's my colleague who runs the clothing closet, and will happily accept clothes, shoes, belts. The first question, what was it like, Jim, in the early stages of the pandemic, when everyone was still learning how protocols and what all of this meant, and whether it was airborne or surface, and how did you handle keeping everyone safe? And another person had asked, have you been able to source safety equipment?
Two separate questions, obviously easy to answer now at this stage. It was very difficult to get materials at the beginning, and you had to jump on it. And then what we all thought was, this will last 3 weeks, this will last 4 weeks. We had no idea. And as I mentioned before, everybody had so many different expectations of what they wanted and what they expect. We did put some protocols in immediately as we could, where there were people still here on site, you know, we started cleaning restrooms a lot more often. That seemed to satisfy a lot of people. We also had to go out and unfortunately purchase these sprayers, and actually the sprayer that we have just recently, it looks like the gentleman from Ghostbusters, you know, with the backpack on it, and you go around spraying it. It's actually interesting. But that's actually more interesting than you know, some of the minor things we had to do. We always had to wipe down handles and you know, doorknobs and things like that. But it was surprising that you know, we actually have to do it so that people would see us doing it. You know, you couldn't do it behind the scenes anymore. You had to, people wanted to know that you were cleaning up. They wanted to see you were there, you know, so we had to make more of a presence and interrupt their work while they were here. So we were able to do that. But then over the course of time, we did, you know, ask people to stay home and work from home. So it did get a little easier to work around here. It was very difficult at the beginning to get some materials, cleaning materials. We were able to get a rather large donation of masks from Korea. That has helped tremendously. But as far as the equipment, we've had to actually purchase just a tremendous amount of equipment to make sure that everybody felt safe and everybody felt comfortable, and the cleaning products. And as you can imagine, there's been some markup, quite a bit of a markup in some of the cleaning products, but you know, we just had to do it. So we had no choice but to get it. There's always going to be something where somebody says, you know, did you do this? And be like, yes, we did do it. You know, and they're like, can you do it again? And we'd be, yeah, of course we will. And you know, as I mentioned before, making some of these glass partitions, and I said to Mike Edwards of our team before, is, you know, there's some people that may want glass partitions, plastic plexiglass partitions on their desk and keeping them away from other, and there might be people that don't want it. I said, but we're prepared to put it wherever people request it. And that's basically what we've been trying to do is, you know, stand here and wait for the request to come in and say, okay, look, we're all over it. What do you need? What makes you feel more comfortable? And then we're on it. You know, that's been it for our COVID. That's been our I guess, motto is, you know, trying to handle everybody and make sure that the least common denominator, everybody was comfortable. You know, that's what we're looking for.
And I know an extra challenge must have been with the ACT children's programs opening. That must have been especially challenging, making the space safe for kids.
You would think that it would be, but with today's, you know, with everything that's going on today, all these spaces have to be treated almost the same. There's nothing special that we would do for the kids. We do have obviously look at things much lower levels to make sure that those areas are clean. But you know, everything has to be completely thoroughly cleaned and disinfected. And, you know, we're able to do that for everybody, not just ACT. The problem with ACT is, of course, is that they do have, you know, more Department of Health, Department of Buildings, Fire Department walkthroughs, and so we have to we have to accompany them, we have to answer any questions they have, be ready to jump on spots, and then also then if we do get any violations, we have to correct those violations. Whether it's somebody didn't sign a fire extinguisher, you know, certificate or something along those lines, but we have to address everything. So and we do.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jim. And that was our last question. And again, I want to thank you all so much for joining us, for being part of the Cathedral family as we navigate these choppy waters of caring for a community that is hurting and looking to us for sustenance on many levels. And as the Dean mentioned, St. Francis is coming up this Sunday. And I encourage you to register on our website. If you go to our homepage, you'll see where you can register and get information on joining the programs, the virtual programs on Sunday. And also, if you'd like to make a donation in honor of St. Francis, you have the opportunity to do that. It will go to our COVID Response and Relief Fund, which is still active and getting things out there to help the community. And so just your support on many levels is just, we're so grateful for it. So thank you, and you'll get an invitation for our next community update shortly. And as always, feel free to contact me by phone or email, and always happy to help in any way I can. So thank you all.
Thank you. Peace.